Professor Solange, the third question that I want to ask you today is a bit more startup focus. If we look globally, there have been very frequent news about the data of users being compromised, right? If you look at the case of Truecaller, which is a Swedish startup, lots of Indian users' data was at threat. The Swiss startup ProtonMail, they were under DDoS attack recently, and the news also said that they had to pay some amount of money to in Bitcoins though to get back control of their the data, user data and servers. Similarly, there are stories of Zomato, potentially also Ola Cabs, Ghana.com. A lot of startups facing these cyber threats and a lot of espionage going on around their data, etc. So concretely for startups, what do you think should be the cyber strategy? What should be their outlook towards reputation management if such an incident happens, and how often should they plan the incidental response management?
That's a very good question. Effectively, all the companies are under threat. Cyber threat is a reality for all kinds of organizations, and also for medium organization, medium enterprise, small enterprise. Everybody can be under threat. And there's a huge problem for everyone, and the startup as well as the company should have aware of this kind of problem, and in particular if they have some intellectual property or something very new, they can be hacked for that also. And that's what we have seen these past years is a lot of blackmail, and it's a reality for bank, for any institution. That's a very good a very deep problem that we have to address. And for example, we know by now that 1% of GDP of a country profit to cyber criminals. So we have we need to have a cybersecurity strategy at the national level, but each organization and each startup also have to take into account the criminal risk into their strategy and to protect themselves, and dedicate some resources to protect data and to protect their infrastructures. That's a huge problem, and you know what? Startup can also be under threat from other states if there are very good services to propose, for example, data protection, email, communication services, and so on. And perhaps it's not in the line of some country of groups and so on. So they can be under a lot of pressure and threat. So that's a reality. And perhaps one more thing we have to say about startups: if they are very good idea, are very good in innovation, they can be under threat from big multinationals that would like to have this service under their control. So perhaps it's a way to make them change the way they behave, or perhaps they can have a lot of money if they are able to sell their services or their idea.
Excellent. You touched upon the human aspect of this, right? So there's always a human element to cybersecurity. So no matter how much startup invests resources and time into tools and technologies, if they open the bring your own device, which is the culture right now, that sort of compromises everything. So how can startups prepare to at least mitigate the risk of human element? Because at one place we're saying, bring your innovation, let's do something together. At the other end, these big software technology parks have the checks of whatever goes in and out of the park has to be checked.
Of course, that's a good question, because we don't have any means to protect them. That's a very difficult question, and when you are in a startup, you have an idea, an innovation to do, and you think about your innovation. You don't think about innovation and security and how to protect your innovation. So perhaps it will be a state of mind of people who are doing innovation, be aware that perhaps as I have a lot of cybersecurity risk and dedicate resources for that. And if you use Google, for example, or Gmail to exchange your idea, is not a good thing. If you use Facebook also, and so on. So perhaps you have to invest in dedicated technology to protect your secret or what you are doing, but you have to pay a lot of money to be in more secure posture.
Okay. And in terms of planning, you're saying that every team, every startup should potentially think of an expert, or at least depend on the state to to have their cyber security in place? The idea of having a full-time person involved and the planning of cybersecurity has to be from
I
day.
think it's impossible to achieve because startups are not enough resources to do that. But perhaps it should be a state mandate to help startups to be in a secure environment to produce new things. And perhaps we have to think about how a state can enforce and promote the development of startup and to support the industry, in particular in the cybersecurity field. And perhaps it should be an innovative environment to produce a safe development of startup. And that should be not live only on the startup shoulders, but being taken into account in more regional or state level approach.
Okay, and that brings me to the last question regarding the startups cybersecurity, which is in Switzerland, where can Swiss startups go to receive such a help and assistance and advice?
Oh, that's a good idea. And I think in Switzerland, it's a federal state, so each canton has its own idea of how to promote the development of innovation in association with University of École Polytechnique. And that depends. But I think Switzerland, for example, have to develop such an approach of helping startups to have emerging society, emerging services, and to be a champion in this field. We have to innovate also at the state level for that, to support our industry, to keep our idea under Switzerland banner, have the Swiss quality and so on. And I think some institutions in Switzerland and head of agency are beginning to think about that, how to be helpful or how to promote the development of such initiative.
Thank you.